In his fourth full-time NASCAR Cup Series season, driving for an all-new race team, Bubba Wallace wins his first NASCAR Cup Series race. How's it going, y'all? My name is Eric. Welcome to Out of the Groove. We went full Talladega this weekend. Big wrecks, rain delays, postponements, and three, yes, count them three, first-time winners. We're gonna talk all about today's rain-shortened NASCAR Cup Series race, but first we have to thank our sponsor. LubeGuard is back, and they bring you LubeGuard Instant Shutter Fix. Simply add Shutter Fix via your dipstick or fill tube hole, and Shutter Fix will start working immediately to eliminate torque converter shutter, chatter, and hard shifting. Their condensed friction modifier formula eliminates torque converter shutter safely and instantly. It's easy to use, it eliminates hard shifting, vibration, and chatter, works with all conventional, synthetic, and low viscosity automatic transmission fluids. LubeGuard Instant Shutter Fix can be purchased through O'Reilly Auto Parts, AutoZone, Advance, CarQuest, Napa, or online at Amazon.com. You can click the link to learn more about LubeGuard Instant Shutter Fix. All right, we've got a lot to react to today. We'll talk all about the playoff drivers, especially those who had trouble today at Talladega. We'll look at the point standings. We'll talk about the top finishers. We'll put this race on the groovy gauge at the very end, but we have to begin this episode by talking about the race winner. First-time winner, Bubba Wallace. One of the highest profile drivers in NASCAR today, driving for an all-new team this year, 2311 Racing, the Michael Jordan, Denny Hamlin-owned venture, working with a new crew chief, Booty Barker, who's a veteran crew chief, been around a long time, but this is only his second or third race now with Bubba Wallace. Plus, it's Talladega, probably NASCAR's most iconic racetrack, at least in popular culture. What a way to get your first career NASCAR Cup Series win. Now, I already see some of y'all in the comments, oh, but Eric, it's a super speedway. Not only that, it's a rain-shortened super speedway race. You're already putting a huge asterisk next to Bubba Wallace's first win. I see some of y'all. And so I'm gonna begin with this. Bubba Wallace deserved to win today as much or more than every other driver in the field. First, now I'll give you this, it's a win at Talladega, and within the NASCAR industry, wins at Talladega and Daytona are viewed a little differently. They're very prestigious, of course, the Daytona 500, Talladega is always a huge event, but everyone knows the skills you need to win at Daytona or Talladega are not quite the same skills as an entire team I'm talking about that you need to win at, say, Las Vegas or Phoenix. Talladega races these days are practically a crapshoot. Like, it takes skill and strategy to position yourself maybe a little better than others late in the race, but in the final lap or couple of laps in these things, it's basically a roulette wheel. You have no idea where you're going to finish, where the right push is going to come from. Are you going to be in the proper line to receive that push at the right time? It's kind of a crapshoot. But Bubba Wallace earned the win today as much as you can earn any win at a super speedway track. You know, a few laps before the final rain came, Bubba Wallace was pretty deep in the field. He was 15th, 20th place, and then he jumped into the outside lane, the third lane up against the wall, where only a few cars were kind of testing at that time. And suddenly that 23 McDonald's Toyota was leading the outside line, 10 rows back, nowhere near the lead. But Bubba Wallace, with a fast race car and good pushing behind him, led that outside lane. He dragged that entire lane up to the front. They were three wide battling for the lead. Eventually, Bubba Wallace got a good enough push that he was able to clear the bottom lane and move down and control the race. He led the final couple laps of this race despite two very fast and very successful Penske teammates thundering right behind him. Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano have won their fair share races at Talladega in the past, both of them in the playoffs, and as we'd seen early in the race, the Penske Fords especially were really good at working together to stay up front. Bubba Wallace kind of on an island, he had Christopher Bell and Denny Hamlin there, but they weren't really in a position to help him. He did have Kurt Busch, who will be his future teammate next year, right there with him, so he had a little bit of help, but not the kind of help that Brad Keselowski and Joey Logano had with each other. But as the final couple of laps played out, everybody going for it, because as we heard over Joey Logano's radio, every single driver in the field knew that rain was going to hit before the end of stage 2. So they were all racing like it was the last lap. Everybody was on the same page. Both Penske cars had shots on the inside and the outside lane at Bubba Wallace. He did a tremendous job managing those two lanes in the closing lap or two, and he held on to the lead when the wreck with Ryan Preece and others happened behind him. So yes, it's Talladega, and I'll give you that. I'd love to see Bubba Wallace win at, a short track or a mile and a half in the coming years, or a road course maybe someday. But super speedway races still require a tremendous amount of skill to win at. And Bubba Wallace has had success at super speedways in the past. Today's win wasn't even a fluke. He's got a second place in the Daytona 500 just 3.5 years ago. He was second at Daytona just a few weeks ago. Not to mention he was fifth at Daytona in 2020, so he has 3 career top 5s. Again, he's only been racing in the Cup Series for less than 4 years, and he already has 3 top 5s at super speedways. If it's all luck, Bubba Wallace wouldn't consistently find the front of the field in these things. Not to mention he was second in his dual race earlier this year with 2311, so no matter the team he's driven for, Bubba Wallace often at least sniffs the front of the field at these plate tracks. Today was no different. He deserves to win. Yes, it's a super speedway win, but ask Dale Earnhardt Jr., ask Denny Hamlin. It takes skill to win at super speedways, to consistently run up front at super speedways. You need some luck, absolutely you need some luck, but you need skill as well. And Bubba Wallace, no matter what you think of him overall as a driver, I think he's decent, not great, not bad, he's decent. It's safe to say at this point he is an above average super speedway racer. He understands how to work the air, how to pick the right lane. He usually has good cars underneath him. He is an above average super speedway racer. Today's win was not a fluke, it was well deserved. I just wanted to kick this episode off with that. If you don't think Bubba Wallace earned the win today, then you must think that every super speedway winner in history didn't earn their wins either, because Bubba Wallace played super speedway racing perfectly in the closing laps of this one. Again, everyone in the field knew the rain was about to come. Everybody knew that that was likely the end of the race. That's how they were racing, and Bubba Wallace was the one controlling the lanes at the end. So he did his job. He deserves the win. I just wanted to kick this episode off with that. Congratulations to him. This is a special win for a number of reasons. Obviously, it's his first career NASCAR Cup Series win. You could see the emotion in his eyes during his, finally his post-race interview with NBC. It's the first win for his new crew chief, Bootie Barker. Bootie Barker has run over 480 NASCAR Cup Series races as a crew chief, I believe, or 460. I think it's like 463 or 483, something like that. And he finally has his first career win, so special for Bootie Barker as well. 2311 Racing, of course, high-profile team, gets their first win in their inaugural season. Just a few weeks too late. They almost nabbed that win at Daytona and made the playoffs, but still, pretty special to win in your first season. This is a home race of sorts for Bubba Wallace, whose hometown is Mobile, Alabama. Talladega just a couple hours north, so home state at least for Bubba Wallace. And winning in that paint scheme today breaks the infamous McDonald's curse. McDonald's has been a primary sponsor for at least one NASCAR team for years at this point, it feels like, and yet they hadn't won a race since 1994 until today. So breaks a pretty impressive curse that McDonald's cars seem to have in NASCAR. So special for a number of reasons. He deserved it. That's all I have to say about Bubba Wallace getting his first career win at Talladega Superspeedway. Now let's look at the rest of the top finishers, and then we'll talk about the playoffs. Bubba Wallace gets the win. The two Penske drivers I talked about finished second and third with Logano and Keselowski. Kurt Busch fourth. Christopher Bell had a really good car. He finishes fifth, and he needed a good day today. Made up some pretty important points. It's worth noting, because the race technically ended just a couple laps before the end of stage 2, every driver's final running position was also counted for the end of stage 2, so they also got stage 2 points, these drivers in the top 10. So that helps Christopher Bell out a bit. Denny Hamlin's in the mix. He had probably, I don't know about the best car, but he's obviously the best super speedway racer. The way he pushed Christopher Bell repeatedly, the way he seemed to just be actively learning while running up at the front of the field today was remarkable, very impressive. Chris Buescher won the opening stage, shout out to him. Kevin Harvick, a solid top 10. Eric Jones, another top 10, he had one a couple weeks ago as well. And Anthony Alfredo, how about that? Is that Alfredo's first career top 10? I'm not certain, I'll put a fact check right here if I'm wrong, but happy for Anthony Alfredo, that's great. Martin Truex Jr. was caught up in the second to last big wreck, got a little bit of damage, but bounced back to finish a solid 12th, salvaged points, that's all he had to do. Rough day for Hendrick, I just realized. They don't have anyone in my top 15. Chase Elliott had good speed today, but he ends up finishing 18th, unfortunately. Wrong place, wrong time. Same for William Byron, who was caught up in the last big wreck. Kind of in the back of the field, unfortunately, but nowhere to go when Ryan Preece and other drivers, DiBenedetto, went spinning. Kind of the story of William Byron's playoffs to this point outside of Bristol. It's been, good speed, but bad results. Alex Bowman got wrecked early on in this race. I say got wrecked. A lot of people wanted to throw the blame on Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Stenhouse has a history at these super speedway tracks of maybe being a little too aggressive and setting off some big accidents, but I don't think you can blame Ricky Stenhouse for that first big wreck. NBCSN did a pretty good job explaining it, but I thought Chase Elliott was pushing Stenhouse really hard, and he was still hitting Stenhouse when Stenhouse got to Bowman, so really nothing Stenhouse could do. It's a really treacherous spot on the track. Bad break for Alex Bowman, but there's two Hendrick cars that were KO'd. Kyle Larson got damaged in the first big wreck today when Justin Allgaier going through the tri-oval got pushed, actually by William Byron. Maybe got pushed a little awkwardly. It's hard to push in the tri-oval sometimes, and Allgaier went spinning up into Kyle Larson, knocked the toe out of Larson's car. They battled the damaged vehicle clock, managed to stay out on track, didn't have to go to the garage, so they salvaged a few points there, and obviously they had a huge cushion coming in, so Larson's still in a decent situation after this race. But a bad day overall for Hendrick, and Kyle Busch also for Joe Gibbs, finishing 27th. That's pretty bad. He complained early on in the race. I heard over his radio, he was asking, why do we effing suck so bad? Well, they never really ran up front and got caught up in one of the late big crashes, so bad break for Kyle Busch as well. Hurts his points points position. Let's look at the point situation now. Kyle Larson is still second on the playoff grid behind Hamlin, the only driver locked in after winning at Vegas last week, but now Larson's only plus 22. We're going to the Roval next week. I think he'll be really good there. He's been good at all the other road courses this year, but Larson not a lock to make it to the round of 8 at this point, but he's still in a better position than most. You got the Penske drivers who finished this race really well. They're right there behind him. Truex is still plus 20, Ryan Blaney plus 15, all in decent situations, but again, nobody's a surefire lock, again, aside from Hamlin going into the Roval, and that's dangerous territory. It could be a real wild card next weekend. Chase Elliott plus 9. I thought Kyle Busch would be in a worse situation, but he had a good week at Las Vegas, finished in the top 5, so that helps him out quite a bit. He's still plus 9 despite finishing 27th, and then the first 4 drivers out at the moment. Really not much change, I don't think, from last week. Still Harvick and Bell, although they're within striking distance. Well, maybe not Bell. I thought he made up a few more points than that. Minus 28. He's won at a road course already this season. He might have to do that again next week. And then Byron and Bowman, yeah, must-win territory. I'm pretty confident. I know at Bristol a few weeks ago, I thought maybe a couple of Hendrick cars would get eliminated, and they, dug themselves out of that hole in Bristol. I'm pretty confident now, I think, looking at these points, that at least one Hendrick car is going to get eliminated after next week. And I think it's safe to say at this point, those are some pretty big deficits. But anyway, that's what the playoff situation looks like as they currently run. Nobody besides Hamlin is safe going into the Roval next week, and it's going to be a must-see event. This was a wild race. The end of this race kind of felt like a horror movie. The skies were getting darker and you could visibly see it on TV. Like I mentioned, they were playing radio communications. The rain's coming. It's gonna be here before State Shoe. You gotta go now. NBC kept cutting to the beats per minute on Stenhouse and on Logano, and it kept going up 140, 150, 160 beats per minute. Oh, I was stressed out sitting on my couch. I felt like I was waiting for the jump scare, waiting for the monster to pop out, and then suddenly, Priest got turned into the outside wall. Big wreck. That kind of was the jump scare at the end of the race. Ends the whole event. Still, it's a shame it got rain shortened, a shame it got rain delayed after, what seemed to be a pretty light rain shower yesterday, but limited daylight and the way scheduling is, of course. But I think most people who watched the race today, at least the racing that did happen, there was that short red flag in the middle of it as well, I think they were entertained by the product. We'll put this race on the Groovy Gauge. It's a tough one to score. Rain shortened and rain delayed races are always difficult because anytime the viewing experience gets chopped up like that, starting, stopping, going, not going, and of course rain shortened, you want to see races go the full distance as much as possible. It makes these races tough to score, but here's my Groovy Gauge score. I'm gonna give the Yellowwood 500 a 90% on the Groovy Gauge. The rain sucks. I wish it had gone the full 188 laps. I wish it hadn't been delayed a full 24 hours. It looked like a lot of fans, unfortunately, weren't able to stick around, and campers as well. But the racing product we actually saw was incredibly entertaining. I thought you saw a lot of big runs still being generated, tons of lead changes, tons of shuffling, not only in the middle and the back of the field, but also at the front of the pack. We didn't destroy too many cars. Trucks and Xfinity earlier this weekend took care of that for us, so that's always good. You get a wreck here and there. I think a wreck occasionally at Talladega and Daytona is good. I think that's a fine thing. It reminds fans that this type of racing is dangerous, that there's trouble around any corner. I don't like seeing 20 and 30 car pileups, but a 2 or 3 car wreck here or there, I think that's good for the viewing experience. Again, I don't root for wrecks, but it is nice to at least get a visual reminder sometimes that this type of racing is difficult. If they run 3 and 4 wide all day and never wreck, is it really that hard to do what they're doing out there? It's good to know that these cars are on edge a little bit from time to time. So a couple wrecks, but nothing big. I think that's a plus. They never trained around the top for more than 2 or 3 laps at a time, it seemed. So great action, very competitive. Points battle was interesting. Of course, a surprising winner maybe at the very end with Bubba Wallace. I think this was a really good race. 90% for me. Let me know down below what score you would give this Talladega race on your Groovy Gauge. That's gonna do it. I don't have much else to say. I know it's a Monday, but what a crazy Talladega weekend. 3 first-time winners. Tate Fogelman gets the win in the truck race. Brandon Brown wins the Xfinity race, and Bubba Wallace wins the Cup race. Peak Talladega. Full Talladega. Talladega's great, but we don't go full Talladega all too often, let alone for 2 complete days, a full weekend. That's pretty rare, so enjoy it when it lasts, I suppose. Be sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel. We talk NASCAR news, notes, rumors, predictions, reactions almost every single day here on this channel. And as always, a big thank you to my amazing Patreon supporters as well. I couldn't do the show without your tremendous support every single month. Plenty more to talk about later this week. Of course, the Charlotte Roval is Sunday, so we'll have a lot to talk about before the next cutoff race in the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs. Thanks for watching, y'all. I'll see you in the next video.